Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, Chip? Good to see you. It's been 24 hours
Oh man,
since the last time we were on here. Fired up, lots of energy. You know why? Because XRP prevails. You know where it prevails, Chip? In a free market. Not only does XRP prevail, but crypto flourishes in a free market. And Flare is still going. We need to get a little bit deeper into Flare because we talked about it a little bit. And I put this in the title because I don't know, you threw something in the keep talking about the ruble is now tied to gold. What is that all about? And how does that impact crypto? How does it impact the world at large? We got to get into that a little bit. You ready to kick this thing off?
been ready, Jeff. You ready to
Ready.
go? Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
And welcome everybody there on Rumble. If you're watching on Rumble, big shout out to all the new Rumblers that are joining on the chain. And one other thing, since we haven't done it except for yesterday, first time, if you're brand new here, hit the subscribe, hit the bell notifier, and make sure that you follow and get notified every time we go live.
Absolutely. And Jeff, the theme tonight is XRP prevails in a free market. And again, it's one of your another one of your great thumbnails. Just really goes to illustrate what everything's all really comes down to, what everything's about when it comes to free markets being driven. And there's been so much weirdness going on in crypto, Twitter, just almost everywhere.
Crazy.
It's almost like we live in some alternate
Crazy
universe at these days, right? I mean,
we're definitely in an alternate universe.
It's getting crazy, and it's like, as I'm going through my Twitter feed, I pull up this article and I'm saying to myself, what? I mean, the timing of this article. Now, you're very familiar with the Motley Fool, right? I mean, the Motley Fool has been around for, it seems like forever. Maybe it's been 20 years.
I think been forever.
Maybe like the late 90s. Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Definitely in that time frame.
Yeah, the Motley Fool has been really good. It used to really, it came out really talking about stocks and bonds and, pretty much everything in the financial sector. Great articles, good writers. I've always thought it was a pretty good publication, great personalities on there. And then, Jeff, I run across this today in my feed, which I thought was pretty interesting. Look at this right here. The Motley Fool, Bitcoin's not the future of money, but this crypto could be. And if you watch those ads, he's like, and I'm going to tell you something in about 5 minutes. You're like, what is it? And he's like, and then what is it? He's like, well, Bitcoin is not the future of money, but another cryptocurrency, or more accurately, another blockchain just might be. And I'm thinking, okay, you hooked me, got me, hooked me in. I'm like, great. What is it? I'm just waiting. Like, what could it possibly be, Jeff? There's the blockchain graphic that everyone's seen. At this point, it's clear Bitcoin is not the future of money. That's not to say anything negative about Bitcoin. The coin has played a vital role in growing the crypto ecosystem as a whole and served early investors well. Certainly can be used as a viable payment option at many businesses worldwide. But as for it being the future of money, well, that debate's largely been settled. Cryptocurrency in general is certainly being used for more and more powered transactions. So I keep reading, I'm like, okay, well, what is it? Oh, there it is, XRP. XRP is a cryptocurrency whose blockchain is rapidly being adopted by the world's banks. The Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce has already started using it, as have banks in Israel and Australia. The banks are adopting XRP that say that the blockchain's fast speed gives it an advantage in processing global payments. Makes for the perfect sense. Compared to other cryptocurrencies, XRP offers many more transactions per second. It's already the second most popular blockchain in terms of daily transactions. Could get more popular as more banks start to use it. So when do you think this article was written, Jeff? You had to guess.
If I had to guess, this was probably like 2018.
That's a really good guess, Jeff. I'm not exactly sure. So let's look at this. Oh, check it out. It was published on March 31st. I don't know what year.
That's pretty good.
I think it was March 31st. I think it's this year. So I think it was today. I was thinking if it's this year, I don't know what year it was, but I was just shocked to see that. And this is when you have a mainstream publication like the Motley Fool, as far as a respected trade publication for stocks for so many years. But it talks about why it's promising. First, the Ripple blockchain offers up to 1,500 transactions per second. Ether offers 15. It's like 1,500 to 15. The funny thing is, 15 is not fast enough. At some point, they're going to have to upgrade. No, because I mean,
I don't
look at
know. Why, why
Mastercard
do you
and
want to
Visa is like
upgrade?
70 or 80,000,
Why do you want to go
something like
from
that.
15 when you got
I
when
want to
you've
go to
got
100,000,
15?
Jeff.
Man, stick with 15. It's all good.
Ether. Yeah. And the high gas fees too. Second, XRP enjoys active support from its developers. Ripple Labs always doing things to support XRP, like recruiting vendors. They always have their takeaway, foolish takeaway. As we've seen, Ripple's network enjoys a lot of advantages, which has led to it becoming the most popular cryptocurrencies for transactions in terms of real world use. It's already gotten Bitcoin beaten. It remains to be seen whether that will translate to gains for XRP. But given the Ripple network uses XRP, seems at least possible. Now, free report, 5 stocks under $49.
Man, that's a foolish takeaway.
This is Canada's version of the Motley Fool, though, just letting you know.
Aha. What is it called?
It's the Motley Fool Canada. It's fool.ca. It's the Motley Fool, but it's the Canadian version of it. But you can see
they know up in Canada that we don't know down here.
Plenty, Jeff. Apparently, plenty. There's a lot. They probably know a lot more in some areas. Like we talked about that story where those 11, I believe it was companies or organizations bonded together to make sure that Canada doesn't get left behind. Meanwhile, we have Congress to make sure that we're being left behind as far as crypto is concerned, and then crushing the world on top of it. And they didn't do anything wrong. They're like, hey,
we're falling behind.
And you know, the rest of the world, Jeff, is like, look, we've had crypto clarity forever. What's wrong with you losers? I mean, I don't know if they're saying that exactly.
We got perfect clarity here. We've got the pillars of enforcement. Yeah, we've got Janet Yellen, got Elizabeth Warren, we've got all sorts of people that are super pro crypto out there that are helping support the narrative.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, man, Chris Larson. You know what the first rule of holes is, Jeff? First rule of holes is if you're in one, stop digging. That's the first rule of holes. Everybody should know that, just in case you end up in a hole somewhere. Stop digging.
And he loves kind of sticking his foot in his mouth, so to speak.
Big time, man.
Sometimes I know we're gonna get into it. I know we saw a little bit about what he was getting into yesterday, and there's definitely a lot more today to unpack, to unfold, kind of see exactly where we're at with this with Chris Larson, and then there's some other commentary as well in the space. So let's pull that one up. Let's see what Chris Larson.
So here we go today. So as we know, Pompliano had a conversation with Chris. He put it live. We reached agreement on decentralized digital currency being an important solution to many problems, and I think that's where it ended. They also agree on free market chooses winners. Now, the one funny thing about that is, if they agree on that, Jeff, how can there be? If the market chooses, market's already chosen Bitcoin. It's the number one digital asset. Has the market already chosen, or am I crazy?
The market chose it. First mover advantage.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. At this point, move on. Focus on what you do best. Forget about, and granted, and I think you said it best yesterday. Maybe the guy's sitting on a huge stash of Bitcoin, but at the same time, it's like, what? Why now? And why is he trying to tie this into the whole environmental thing? And he's obviously being singled out by his buddies that are all into the environmental, thing. And this is not to say, everyone is, doesn't want to protect the environment, but let's call it the climate thing, not the environmental thing, because he's always referencing the climate. So I think there's an issue going on here, and man, we got to dig in. We got to figure out what that is.
Well, Jungle Link says Chris Larson is a motley fool if I've ever seen one. Yeah. So he says, thanks, Anthony Pompliano, for inviting me to have a conversation about this. Like you said, people often see things in black and white, but that's not reality. Oh, no. Crypto is an industry of massive talent. I believe there's so much potential to do good for the planet. I'll reiterate, my goal is to create awareness of the problem and discuss possible solutions. If a full validation protocol switch is not palatable to Bitcoiners, that's fine. You can still improve proof of work to keep the fundamentals, securities, etc., but become a carbon neutral or negative.
What if they,
Jeff?
What if they don't want to be? Like I'm trying to.
Why does
he care?
Well, not only that, but listen, I mean, it's not like Bitcoin came out last year and we're gonna do something. First of all, nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. It's already been done. It's been crafted. It's working. It's being mined. The last
And move
block will be
on.
mined in 2042. We're talking about 20 years from now.
And then
Meanwhile,
move on.
yeah, we're 11. We're what 12 years into this thing. Came out in 2009. Almost 13 years into it. We're almost halfway through it. I mean, why would you want to stop it and change it and turn it into something that it's not? And then that's Bitcoin's allure. The fact that it is proof of work. Is it a great? No. That's why Ripple said, "Hey, let's fix the problems and let's roll out something that's faster and it's already mined."
Exactly. So Jungle's saying he has no solutions. He only points at the problems. And obviously, everyone references that, Bitcoin as a payment solution, it's slow, it's costly, maybe with the Lightning, maybe it's a little bit better. We know that there's better solutions out there. We know that, Bitcoin has it has a point. It's part of the marketplace. Its part is, maybe it's a store of value. Maybe XRP is a better solution for the payment space. But why keep going back to and beating up on Bitcoin when you need to focus on your own company and making it great?
Matt LaRoche says, pedal power your CPU sorted, get fit and get bit. Steve Willett says, the peasants are revolting. Ooh, I know. And then what do we have here? What is Alchemist saying? Efficiency. But roll your coal as you types are want to do, as you would want to do.
What he was saying before that, he said, why do you care that he cares? Well, first of all, I don't really care that he cares.
We don't, but it's a mockery, man.
But the point is, if we didn't talk about it, then what's the point of us coming here and talking? We're talking about the crypto space. We're digesting it. We're analyzing it. We're workshopping it. We're providing our commentary. So that's why we care. We care that he cares, that we don't really care.
Well, also too, the problem is, is that by doing this and being such a high profile name as a co-founder of Ripple, doesn't matter. You could say it. He could broadcast it everywhere, put it on his Twitter ban or whatever, saying that this is not a campaign by Ripple. Doesn't matter. You're the face of Ripple. You're one of the faces of Ripple, and no matter what your motive is for it, it looks like there's an ulterior motive. It's like, well, I'm going to go after Bitcoin. We know he owns Bitcoin, and that's one of the reasons they spun up Ripple, and they ended up moving OpenCoin. Eventually, it was called Ripple Coin, and then it went over to XRP.
And
we're always spitballing.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing, Chip. He goes in and he says, you can keep your proof of work because of the fundamental. You want the fundamentals, keep the fundamentals. You want to stick with Bitcoin, but it has to be carbon neutral or carbon. Why? Why does it have to be? Why is he wrapped into his worship of this climate thing? And it sometimes people, they get to a point where they have so much money, they begin to lose reason. And I believe that he's at that point where he's started to lose reason, where he's now in the public space, talking about this stuff. And, just, man, I don't know. It's too much.
It is too much. He says Bitcoin's mining infrastructure is remarkable. What if, instead of emitting carbon, proof of work was updated where miners suck carbon out of the atmosphere?
What? What does that even mean? Like, where do you get that?
Now, this is the one that this is the one that got me going, Jeff. Right here, this is the one, because this one is the most absurd comment ever. The current path proof of work is on is unsustainable and will be met with a climate wall. No, it won't. No.
What does that even mean?
I don't even know, but it's not going to be met with a climate wall. Now, Jeff, if you ever watch Game of Thrones, the ice wall, that's one of the greatest walls of all time. Like, I figure like the ice wall is coming, in the Game of Thrones, that giant wall. I just don't see, what does it mean? It'll be met with, and first of all, the current path that it's on is sustainable, because I guarantee we'll get to 2042, all the Bitcoin will be mined. And by the time everyone's lost their private keys and more crypto's lost, maybe it'll be 15 or 16 million total. And it'll be very scarce and very valuable. And at that point, no one's going to care how it was mined. No one's going to really be bothered by it. Chris Larson, maybe still.
Exactly. He's bothered by it. Check out what Grover Clark said. We miners were always promised code is law. Why else would we spend billions on equipment, right? And that's one comment. And then he said, "You guys are right on. I love your show."
Yeah.
There you
By
go.
the way, how cool of a name is Grover? I mean, Grover is it's just a cool name, man. I remember, Sesame Street. That was the first time I heard the word Grover, and then I started knowing other people named Grover. It's just a great name. So anyway, this whole idea yeah. Hang on a second. We're not even done with this thing.
No.
This is the last thing I want. The crypto industry needs Bitcoin to continue to succeed. This industry is also one that embraces change. Why is acknowledging this fact so controversial? Jeff, you want to take a stab at why you think it's so controversial? Because I can.
Well, yeah. So, I want to start up, the controversy isn't so much that he's saying change, because there have been forks of Bitcoin.
Mhm.
If he wants to go and fork Bitcoin, go fork Bitcoin. Go make a sustainable Bitcoin. You
That
think it
was
can be done? Go do it. Why just talk about it? He's just pontificating, and he's singling it out, and but he's all into this whole climate worship thing right now. And so he's talking about his climate walls. Uh, man, it's just, I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Jeff, I don't even know where to start. I don't want to get into a massive rant because we have so much to talk about tonight. We really do have to get into a lot of good stuff, but I wanted to jump into this next one because I'd like to try to get through this off. We always have stuff we never get to it because we got to move this along a little bit.
Let's
I'm
go
along the
for it.
same
Get
where
into
you are.
Davidson. Davidson's going to comment on this too. So,
Well, Warren Davidson says they're not going to do it voluntarily. Chris Larson, Chris Larson had said that they will not do it voluntarily, which means that.
what does that mean?
Well, what it means is you'd have government. Remember, I shared that video with you earlier today. You could have government stepping in. Someone has to step in because people won't volunteer to do it, Bitcoiners. So you can have regulation or the government or something. In other words, some other entity is going to make you do it. And that, in other words, we're willing to use force to impose our will on you.
Huh.
Likely accurate on both counts. They'll certainly try. This is why good governments defend freedom and free markets. Boom. Well said. And then Tony,
good
from
point.
Thinking Crypto, he says, I wasn't kidding when I said this was a bad move by Chris. Very bad optics for someone who has a huge stake in Ripple and XRP. His comments and funding an ad campaign with 5 million looks self-serving. Now Ripple's going to feel the brunt of this from a lot of folks. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely going to feel it from a lot of folks. And it's just, it's unfortunate. But there was another, there's another thread in here somewhere. Where was it? Oh, okay, so here's another Warren Davidson one, by the way, and he took so much flack, but I cannot agree more with that last statement that he made. And this is why when you get beyond all the other little nitpicky things, so somebody prefers a digital asset, maybe it's Bitcoin, maybe it's Ethereum, maybe it's XRP, maybe it's Solana, I don't know, maybe it's XTC. You spend this time all night. Bottom line is, pro freedom, pro crypto, and pro Jeff's laughing at the comments. Yeah. Pro markets. And this right here, Jeff, look at this one. Warren Davidson. This is free market competition. The SEC has disrupted and distorted the market, especially with XRP, but competition is not what some are seeking. Right?
Interesting.
Kind of plays into that whole, there can only be one. It can be one. One can get a jump start anyway. And he was commenting
what he's saying there too.
Yeah, he was commenting on this guy here, not your average Joe. You may be able to stop Bitcoin itself, but nothing is stopping it from falling out of the top 10 when nobody wants to deal with its prehistoric infrastructure. Once the legacy narrative is dead, it's over.
And that's the point. I think the big point there is the free market. So if people don't want Bitcoin, they're not going to buy Bitcoin. It's real simple. It's strictly, market. So if the market is pushing towards Bitcoin at a certain value, it has a certain value. If people determine that it doesn't have that value, they're going to stop buying it at that value. And that's the primary issue, as you look at what's happening with Bitcoin. But here overall, and we're not saying Bitcoin is the best. We're not, we're reflecting on the fact that diversification, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with investing in Bitcoin if that's a direction. If proof, everyone can make an argument that it's slow, it's expensive, it's tedious. It might not be the great solution that they originally set out for it to be, to replace all banking. But if it's a store of value, that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. Then go off and focus on the projects that are going to be better. And so if if it's going to be XRP and the XRPL, which we've discussed, to infinitum, and we know that the XRPL is probably one of the best technologies that has been developed in the blockchain space. But who's responsible then for picking winners over losers? Is it going to be the market? Is it going to be the people that want to build with the projects? Or are you going to rely on government and the SEC to make that determination? Or are you going to then, allow ideology to make that determination? Why should it be ideology? If it's too expensive to mine Bitcoin, if the reward it doesn't reflect the cost, then you're going to see people want to change.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to read a couple comments here that I saw. So Matt LaRoche says, mine Bitcoin in space via low Earth orbit, Starlink satellites and solar. Sorted. There you go. There you are. Always a possibility. John Doe Crypto says, Kef goes outside, Jeff stays inside. It's like the man in the iron mask, but not really. I don't understand what that means,
lighting, but I don't know.
Kef goes outside, Jeff stays inside. I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
It's
outside,
really
like outdoors.
Yeah, I don't know. But I remember there's a time where I was like, for some reason, my light was always blown out and I didn't look warm. And people were like reaching out saying, Chip, I think you're really sick. There's something going on. You need to see a doctor. There's something wrong with you. And then this one here from Chris Crypto Swell says, dude, does anybody remember how many Bitcoin maxis have been throwing rocks at us for liking XRP? Chris is throwing rocks back.
Hmm.
And,
all right.
And then look at this one here. Speaking of throwing rocks, Bitcoin maxis can throw them back too. Look at this. This is Hassan Alanazi. Says, Bitcoin maxis plan to fund a campaign to burn the XRP escrow as a reaction to Chris Larson's comments concerning proof of work. That's some funny stuff right there, Jeff. I love it, man. It's like, hey,
yeah, I mean, this is
but if that was the case, I mean, honestly, Jeff, if they came after the escrow, the whole XRP community would be up in arms about. But meanwhile, Larson's like, there's not competition, but from another top 10 digital asset, former top 3 prior to lawsuit, is going after the leader. It just looks self-serving. It looks it's a very bad look.
It's a bad timing, bad. But Jungle is saying the only ones concerned about Bitcoin are people with no Bitcoin. It's doing just fine.
It is doing fine. I mean,
it's doing great.
That's why people in the space, it's like, why wouldn't you own Bitcoin?
DJ Jarvis said, wait a minute. So Larson doesn't have any Bitcoin?
That's a good one.
Maybe he doesn't. I mean,
I think he does, man.
How would you start Ripple? I would assume he would have a shit ton. But now, maybe he sold it all. I don't know. I mean, he should have a lot of Bitcoin. He's been around since the beginning. If he's been around since the beginning, then.
Well, that was the whole reason. I mean, honestly, that was the reason that they saw some of the shortcomings of Bitcoin, like for speed and the whole idea of proof of work. So they changed it. Okay, great.
How about Matata saying Satoshi would agree 100% with Chris?
Yeah, I doubt it.
We got Darren Moore Jr.
Well, Darren's in here. All right, man.
As an XRP maxi, I find this conversation triggering. I can never talk to you guys again.
By the way, another phenomenal, absolute phenomenal talent in the space. If you guys aren't sub to Darren, go sub. Man, love his stuff. It's just really good. K-Hud is chiming in here. K-Hud says, thank you for that. It says, it's about liquidity, tying everything together and making it as efficient as possible. He's like the Bezos of crypto. Ooh, the Bezos of crypto, you say? Something along those lines. Something along those lines.
Here's Jungle. At the end of the day, it won't matter because XRP wins. And that's it.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much how it's gonna go, right?
And I think Harry's also spot on. It's time to buy some rubles.
Oh, we got to jump into that story, Jeff. That's just too good right there. So I don't think people realize, and it's kind of weird. A lot of people aren't talking about this. And I got to say, this is one of the most brilliant moves I've ever seen. This is like just master level counter strike move. And again, I'm not. Let's look at the move itself, and then we'll jump into this little story right here. But this is, so you think about what Russia is doing, and this tweet right here. Look at this. Holy hell, they did it. This is a really big deal. The financial equivalent of nuclear bombs. Most world's economies are all based on debt. Absolutely. You have a central bank. Central bank loans the currency to whatever nation. The nation has to start paying it back, and they charge them interest. And then you know what they do, Jeff? They print another trillion, and they loan the trillion to them. And now, can you imagine if you could just print something like money and you could loan it out to people, and people had to pay you interest on it? Systems of debt are crumbling, which is why a lot of what in the state we're in. And this is what she was talking about here. But Russia's central bank announces the ruble is tied. They're gonna tie it to gold, 5,000 rubles per gram.
That's interesting.
So
it's changing the narrative. There was also another statement that came out where they're saying that oil, you want to buy oil from Russia, then you're buying it in rubles.
That's right. So, and it's brilliant how it's tied. So, man, this is such a brilliant move. There are 32 grams in each troy ounce. 32 grams times 5,000 rubles per gram is 160,000 rubles. Are you with me so far? Conversion rate of rubles to US dollars, 100 rubles, 90 kopecks to each US dollar. If rubles are bound to gold at 5,000 rubles per gram, 32 grams per troy ounce, meaning 1 ounce of gold would cost 160,000 rubles, then converting that to US dollars means gold is $1,600 per ounce if you're buying with rubles. What does that mean, Jeff? 1,600. And what's the going rate right now of gold? I mean, you look it up. It oscillates between 9,000. I've seen it hover around 2,000. Someone in the chat throw in there what the going
for today
price. Yeah, for today, what it is. You look it up. So instead of there it is. Like, so when it's $1,928 an ounce using dollars. So check that out. So you know what that's going to create demand for? Rubles. Because you go ahead and you do convert the rubles, and look at the discount you're getting. You're getting a $1,300. You're getting a $300 discount times thousands.
And it says that Russia just wiped out 30% of the value of the dollar worldwide when it comes to gold bullion. We'll see what happens. Just because they say it's so doesn't make it so. We'll see how the world reacts.
Well, worse, because Russia will only sell its oil and gas in rubles. Rubles are now fixed at 5,000 rubles per gram. Anyone wishing to buy oil or gas will need to either pay in rubles or you pay in gold. Now, if you pay in gold, you're the one taking the haircut. So you're taking the haircut, and all they're doing is stacking gold, stacking bags of gold and gold and gold. People around the world will be literally throwing their money at the ruble, dumping dollars and euros to do it.
We'll see. You know, it's interesting. You know, it's an interesting move that they're going that route. You know, what's interesting about it is that we saw recently, well, you know, in the past year and a half, 2 years, we saw Venezuela under Maduro, you know, trying to do something very similar with what was it? What do they call it? Whatever their digital.
What's it called? The Petro or something like that?
Oh yeah, it was the Petro. So, and then what did they say? They wanted everyone to use the Petro, and then they offered it up to India, and they wanted to give India a discount. They said, we'll give you a discount if you buy in Petro. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. We'll buy your gas. We're not paying you in Petro. So the question is Russia does this. They do the math. They connect all the dots. And then the rest of the world says, no, I don't think we're going to do that. You want to price it in rubles? That's up to you. We're going to convert the exchange. We're going to use the standard processing methods. We'll use the US dollar as the reserve currency, and that's going to be our transaction. And we might use the euro, but we're not going to go out of our way to get rubles. It's going to be an interesting, you know, time as we move forward to see what type of controversy it spikes, and then, you know, even further as the controversy, you know, kicks in. How is crypto then going to factor into this greater conversation?
That's a good point. This will have a deflationary effect on the ruble, making it more valuable over time. Also means Putin can repeg the ruble anytime he wants, like 500 or 50 or 10, just keeps getting more valuable for him. And again, this move right here, I almost feel like this move has ended globalism single-handedly, because what's going to happen is you're going to have And it's not like they haven't. Honestly, they started working on this in 2014. This isn't. They were preparing for this for a long time, and what's happening in Europe and what's happening in other places. Here we're wondering, what can we do? Well, just crank up the pipeline again, renegotiate those land leases, and we're up in business. We were a year and a few months ago. We were completely off the teat of any of the other entities, either Saudi Arabia, Russia. We weren't any of that because we were self-sustained. I always thought the reason the U.S. wouldn't drill oil here is that let everybody else use all the oil. No, at the end, when it's all gone, then we'll drill it here. And we're like, hey, we just, just in case it runs out.
We have so much of it. We have more reserves than anywhere else. Now, here's something else to consider is that Russia, going after and making some moves in terms of trying to move away from the US dollar as a reserve currency. And then you have China with the digital yuan and their Belt and Road Initiative as they try to disrupt regional or create regional influence and disrupt the US dollar as a reserve currency. Then you have the IMF, actively making specific statements about the US dollar as a reserve currency. So it seems like there's more of an agenda between Russia, China, and maybe some other players to disrupt the US dollar as a reserve currency. Now, if you have a disruption on a global scale like that, and like you said, the end of globalism, how does that then impact the crypto space? Because you have a destabilization of the US dollar. You don't necessarily have any one country or a group of countries that is going to be dominant at that point, because those in the, that manage the euro, they're not going to go run off and try to get a digital yuan or a ruble. Those here in the US or in, North America, Central America, they're not going to go run off and try to gravitate towards a ruble, but there's going to be a major disruption. Is that where we see crypto come in, and does that impact XRP? What do you think, Chip? XRP.
I like XRP, Jeff. I'll be honest with you. I like XRP. That much I like. But look at this here. Look how much show that. These comments distracted me, Jeff. Sorry.
I know.
Digital crypto with an XRP liquidity hub incentivizes nations to hold a healthy GDP/debt ratio and asset backed by gold, oil, or what, etc. It's an interesting comment. And then I like this one too. Matt LaRoche is spot on here. The paper gold price suppression is gonski, completely evaporated, and that's the suppression. And this is what happens. You've got this. You can the gold price of gold probably should be $35,000 right now, $30,000 to $35,000, but it's been suppressed this whole entire time, and they've been able to control via the paper market what Matt LaRoche is talking about.
Yep.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
And Harry is saying, and this is so critical, with everything going on right now. Harry's saying we can drill in Texas, no steel pipe and drilling sand. There's so much oil sitting right there at our fingertips, and that would have such a major impact on everything Russia's doing right now. Russia was irrelevant, for many years. You think about coming out of after 9/11 and the disruption of the region, and Russia, lost its foothold in the Middle East and began, quickly as to lose their foothold on a global scale. But then we saw 2008, we saw a resurrection of Russia on the global stage, coming back into the Middle East, gaining a little bit of influence. And then 2016, we saw another disruption, but it was already there. Like you said, Chip, 2014, they were already making plans, putting things in place because they didn't want to have
making plans.
Making plans.
Making plans. K-HUD says
tons of stuff happening.
XRP break rocks and build wealth with a new diamond. There you go. That's right. Breaks rocks and builds wealth with a new diamond. And then I like this one. DJ Jarvis says, and silver should be around 5,000 to 15,000 per ounce. Agreed. Yeah, it's way suppressed at this point. It's amazing.
Right, guy's saying that he's playing devil's advocate. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I think that's my thought. I think that was pretty much it. I want to put just a little time for
thought.
Oh, go ahead. Take it.
Fed knows the military takes enormous amounts of oil. Makes sense long term to sit on your stash and buy foreign oil, even at the slight expense of citizens. Maybe it's a smart long term play to hold.
Yeah, it could be, but like Jeff said, I mean, in the last 10 to 15 years, we've discovered so much. There was like some stash. They recently found that was, I think it was like close to the Gulf of Mexico, was greater than what Saudi Arabia had. It's just incredible, the amount. And then up at Alaska and just all over the place. There's tons of oil. But the thing about that is we've made cars more efficient. They run better. No, like I think electric cars are cool, but I don't know. I'm not really that interested in owning one unless it can go 1,000 miles. I mean, 300 miles is kind of weak. I mean, you still got to plug it in and everything else. But I would be more open to a hybrid, and I want power too. I drive a truck.
And that's the thing, Chip. We're not there yet on it from a technology. You can't force technology, So
you can. If you're Chris Larson, you say like they won't do it voluntarily, which is another way to say we will make you do it, Jeff. We'll make
and
you
even
do
if they make them do it, doesn't mean you're going to get the desired outcome. It doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight.
Of course not.
Same thing with the cars. The shift for better gas mileage. Hey, that's awesome. Getting better gas mileage in a vehicle, getting better performance out of the vehicle makes a lot of sense. If you can get more horsepower and use less resource to get the horsepower, that's great. If you want to move to electric vehicles, make them affordable to everyday people. Get rid of the banking infrastructure that's creating leasing and loan programs for cars. I mean, that's a major issue that has infiltrated into the mortgage and education and all these other, institutions as to why the cost of everything is rising at such a rapid rate is because there's free money, and free money is given through all these, through the credit. And so the entities that are selling whatever they're selling realize that there's free money, so the price can go up, and then the price goes up, but this idea and notion of electric vehicles, man, like you said, Chip, 300 miles, and then it takes you 45 minutes to, I don't know, how many hours does it take to get a full charge? Are you going to sit around and wait until your battery? Get some solutions. Let it play out over the next 10, 15, 20 years. If the market wants electric vehicles, the market's going to migrate to electric vehicles. Let Tesla do its thing. Let it build out. You can't force it.
Yeah, but then also too, when you're worried about the environment, then those batteries, they're not disposable. There's not a really good way to, when those batteries are done, how do you get rid of them? How to sensibly? So that you just, you're creating more. And then you still have 20% of the power in the US comes from coal. So you go ahead, and at some point it's either going to be nuclear like it is down here in South Florida, or it's going to be coal. And you're like, I don't like nuclear power. I don't like coal power, but I'm going to plug in my Tesla. And then what happens when the battery goes bad? I don't know. We'll just dig a hole in the earth and stick it in the earth. So it's like there's no one size fits all solution to any of this. But I thought this was funny, just as an aside here. Go ahead, take that.
Look at that one. I like that. Why can't we have great trains like in Europe? That's a great question, because our trains suck.
Well, like how about in Japan? They have those high-speed rails. They're fantastic. Look at this right here.
Because of the automotive industry. Big three.
So XRP, the standard production, says, can someone sub for Matt Hamilton, please? I think he's a little overworked by the maxis lately. It says, Bitcoin is God, says XRP is centralized shit. It's not even real crypto. Max Hamilton's like, oh, for F's sake, can you people ever stop? I'm trying to eat a sandwich over here. That is just fantastic.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Bitcoin is God.
And the funny thing is of course, this is all made up and stuff, but someone put at Bitcoin is God and just made up a pit because it's all made up. But Matt Hamilton chimed in and says, how hard it is to eat a sandwich, respond to FUD, lie on a lilo, and drink a beer at the same time. And XRP Zero FUDs Given says, you do it very well. He says, I fell off the Lilo a few times, just smacking away the Fudsters. And there was somebody had said, why doesn't he just have his bots feed the sandwich while he works? And someone said, dude, there really is a Bitcoin as God. This person is right here. There really is a Bitcoin as God. Right there. Bitcoin is God.
That's
so
awesome.
You see? That's how it works, Jeff.
It's for real. For real. DJ Jarvis saying Tesla charge stations charge relatively quickly. Relative to what? Relative to filling up a tank with gas? Or relative to I went in the store and shopped, and 45 minutes later I came out, my car was charged? What is that? I don't have a Tesla. Teslas are cool because they go like 0 to 60 in like half a second. So you get, I don't know.
I don't like the way they look, but I actually love the truck. The truck looks really cool to me. It's so different. When I get behind one of those cars, I think it looks like an American-made car. It just doesn't look sexy or anything to me. But
But that's what Elon Musk was saying. He didn't build it for the sexiness of the design. He built it for performance.
Well, he's going to have to lower it about $40,000 if anyone's that really cares about it. But anyway, look at this, Jeff. This one came out by Rep Bill Huizinga. He said in yesterday's finance committee. Well, you know what? Actually, we'll just play this video. But he says in yesterday's financial committee hearing, I pressed the Democrats in their unwillingness to hold Gary Gensler's SEC accountable. It's extremely troubling to me that the SEC seems more intent on pursuing highly politicized regulatory undertakings than focusing on its core mission. It's kind of what we've been talking about here, right? Between us and the chat. We've all been talking about that in the XRP space. But this is a great video. Make sure the sound is up.
What kind of audio we get?
Let's see what we get here. Yeah, it's always going to be a...
And then 117th Congress, this subcommittee has held 5 hearings to date, this being the 6th, and the first one in over 5 months. Since the last time we met as a subcommittee, Republicans have highlighted several issues that warrant further attention and oversight. October of 2021, Ranking Member McHenry sent a letter to Chair Gensler asking for clarification on the SEC's authority to regulate the digital asset ecosystem. The subcommittee has taken no action to clarify these statements. November of 2021, Ranking Member McHenry and I called on Chair Waters to join Republicans investigating into the Biden administration's attempt to politicize the PCAOB, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. To date, committee Democrats have been silent. In December, Congressman French Hill sent a letter to Chair Gensler with several of our colleagues sharing concerns over new, quote, staff guidance on shareholder proposals submitted to publicly traded companies under SEC Rule 14A8. This guidance comes from staff at the SEC, who have become arbiters of social policy for our financial markets. In January, committee Republicans demanded answers from the SEC, raising serious concerns with Chair Gensler's decision to limit outside input on rulemaking by providing unreasonably short public comment periods, yet these 30-day comment periods continue to be the norm. In February, Congressman Stile and I sent a letter to the SEC regarding proposed changes to the 2020 proxy rule advisor rule, a rule, by the way, proposed and finalized under former SEC Chairman Clayton that wasn't even allowed to take effect before the proposed amendments were put forth. And finally, just last week, Republican members of this subcommittee sent a letter to Chair Gensler expressing concerns about the upcoming meeting on climate related disclosure for investors. Of course, Republican concerns were ignored in the meeting and proposed rule went forward. Time and time again, subcommittee and Democrat leadership have chosen to focus on issues that fail to shine a light on the SEC and their chairman, who is embarking on an aggressive rulemaking agenda.
Wow. I don't know. Thoughts? I mean, wow. Wow, Jeff.
They're wondering what's going on, and why is this being allowed? And it's interesting because he brought up Maxine Waters a couple times, and so here you have Maxine Waters that is in charge of the Financial Services Committee and should have a say in some of the chaos that's going on in the Financial Services Committee, but she's running around, and you saw that recent interaction that she had with some people in Section 8 housing and the homeless, and she said, why don't you go home? And basically, this won't work. And she said, excuse me, there's nobody in Washington who works for their people any effing harder than I do. I don't want to hear this. No. I don't want to hear what you're saying. Basically, go away, go home, get out of my face. This makes no sense. I shouldn't have come down here, was what she's saying. But these are the types of people, Chip, and that's part of the problem. And he's reflecting that same issue with the SEC, that they don't care about the people. As all this.
No, I mean, they're
beyond that already.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, their mission statement is to protect the people, and all they've been doing is going out there and destroying people's investments. And then the 30-day rule period, I've heard both sides of the aisle chiming in saying, hey, we should at least lengthen this to 6 or 8 weeks or 3 months, but it's still 30 days. So just on some kind of a reckless mission. Here we have Tom Emmer says we need to move away from the SEC's one-size-fits-all regulatory posture. The Main Street Growth Act will allow for the creation of venture exchanges so small and medium-cap companies can go public through a more streamlined process. Tell me if you hear this, Jeff.
I recognize the gentleman from Minnesota.
Do you hear that or no?
Very, very light.
Minnesota, Mr. Emmer. Thank
No,
you, Chair Sherman and Ranking
not loud
Member
enough.
Huizenga.
Okay. All right. Well, I might be able to play it over here. I don't know if it'll get any louder, but I'm going to have to reshare that. So it seems loud
crazy
for
that
me,
everything's
but
filmed.
I hate when they do that. I hate when it's like not loud enough, because this is some really good stuff. I'll try one more time and see if we can give it a go. And if it doesn't sound
This is
loud
the
enough,
financial. This is the
this was
financial.
this is the Financial Services Committee. And the funny thing is, look at this, Jeff. Look at your buddy right here, Mr. Shermanator.
Shermanator.
The Shermanator.
I recognize
The Shermanator. The Shermanator.
Thank you,
Let's
Chair
see it.
Sherman and Ranking Member Huizenga.
Super low.
Yeah.
I am, well, let's see, I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm proud to see my bill, the Main Street Growth Act, noticed for this hearing. The Main Street Growth Act would allow the Securities and Exchange Commission to provide for the creation of venture exchanges so that small and medium cap companies can go public through a more streamlined process. This bill passed out of this committee unanimously in the 115th Congress, and it passed the House as well. In fact, I'd like to thank Chair Sherman, Mr. Scott, Mr. Himes, Mr. Foster, Mr. Meeks, Mr. Gottheimer, and Mr. Gonzalez on this subcommittee for voting in support of this bill, and I hope to have your support again. Look, we have a capital formation problem in this country, and ultimately the compliance burden borne by government overregulation is making the initial public offering process unrealistic for a large segment of private American companies. This hurts everyday American investors the most, much like Mr. Pivovar and Representative Gonzalez were just talking about. Small private companies that need capital are at a disadvantage today because the trading and listing environment is geared so much for much larger.
Yep. Again, this is just another example, Jeff, of how the rule favors the big corporation. The little guy always loses, whether it's in business or whether it's an investment in XRP. It's just it's more of the same over and over and over again. And it was really fantastic that they were able to move that out of the committee, passed in the House. I think it probably just fell on death's doorstep at the Senate, which honestly would not surprise me. But
Oh, and by the way, if you go to onthechain.io, click on interviews and search up Tom Emmer, you can see the interview when Tom Emmer was with us here on the chain, which was a really outstanding conversation. I'm looking through all the commentary, and Alchemist saying Tom Emmer is the man. Loves Tom Emmer. And
Emmer
then
is
we've
the
got
man.
Apex was saying Emmer is one of the good ones. Apex isn't a Republican. He reps Minnesota well, which is really cool. Alchemist said, yes, Emmer is doing it right, thus far. And it's really spot on. I mean, it was really outstanding to see, how great, how great Emmer has been, in the crypto space. And you see what he's doing for the financial space. And, to have these guys stand up and really say it like it is and really make a stand to help support individuals and innovation and business owners and business builders and those that want to invest in it. Whereas you got the other guys, Chip, like Gary Gensler, that is doing the exact opposite. They're trying to shut it down. They're trying to consolidate their wealth to the hands of the few.
Yeah.
And power.
Now, how we were talking about Russia and gold and everything. Well, on its heels, we have a very different story from a different country, the one right across our northern border. This is Canada. Ottawa sells off almost all of its gold reserves, leaving just 77 ounces or less. Unlike other countries, Canada has been selling off its reserve of gold bullion and coins.
Well, good for them.
Do you want to know why, Jeff?
Because
I know it says 2016. It's a 2016 article,
so they must have none by now.
They have none, right? So I'm saying so the government of Canada wound out its gold reserves to basically nothing after a multi-year strategy, selling them off in favor of hoarding other countries' currencies. Oops.
Perfect.
Good
what they
job,
should be,
man.
They were probably
I mean,
They
so by
probably
now they
bought the Petro.
So what do they have now? Ottawa's gold reserves. What do they have? Let's see if they have any. They have like 6 ounces left. I mean,
Not much. Yeah. It's crazy.
funny thing is, there's all articles from 2016. There's one from 2019. Oh, look at this one. This one's
VROSS1. Canada's screwed. This is one of the first actions Trudeau took when he got into office. Let's get rid of our gold. There's nowhere to keep it.
Someone said Canada has plenty of gold reserves. It's still in the ground. Oops. It's in the ground there somewhere. See that? It's what we dig up every year.
In Canada?
Yeah, that's what they say. It should go there, become economic again. Production can be easily ramped up whenever it's necessary. What they're saying is it's in the ground. All they have to do is mine it, Jeff. That's what they're alluding to there. That's what they're alluding to.
Man, well, Canada at least holds some seized truckers Bitcoin at this point.
There's something, right?
There is that. They got some Bitcoin.
Oh, speaking of that,
I wonder if Canada's holding the digital yuan. It's always cool going up there. You always have to wonder when you have a loony and a toonie. You know, you gotta
a loony and a toonie. So
Remember-
this one, a Looney Tunes, yeah. So this one
no,
here,
not the Looney Tunes. No,
It's
the
not Looney
loony.
Tunes?
The loony and the toonie. Their currency.
oh,
Yeah, the loony is their dollar and the toonie is their $2 coin.
Oh, I thought that makes sense. Looney Tunes
See?
makes
Yeah.
perfect
How they
sense.
are Looney Tunes.
So Jeff, this one, somebody put together this fantastic graphic right here. I mean, I always love when people like really put it together, but they put it together with a Tom Emmer tweet. Tom Emmer, the U.S. is not behind China in crypto. CBDCs are not crypto. They're a government surveillance tool. Crypto creates freedom. It doesn't destroy it. And then
Now, interesting,
Yeah,
right?
Klaus
It's interesting
Schwab.
that Tom Emmer said that, Chip, and also Warren Davidson said that recently.
yeah, they said the same exact things. You have Klaus Schwab over here. You've reached your quota of meat this month. That's the WEF. You know, you're gonna be eating bugs. You're not gonna own anything. Perfectly happy. Sounds great, Jeff. I mean, then you've got. You said this is what's her name from the IMF? Oh, she's formerly IMF, but she's now runs the European Central Bank.
Yeah.
You appear to be outside of your approved geolocation. Purchase declined. This is exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
And does that spell obey?
is that-
Obey. I don't know. It's
Is
just-
that legit? Is that a legit comment from her? Is that
No, I don't know. It's just, and the
I
fine print, it
don't
says CBDCs are authoritarian, anti-human rights, centrally planned, and pro-censorship. Don't let them shackle you.
a
Then you got the-
surplus fossil fuel tax? Nice.
Yeah, a surplus fossil fuel tax will be taken from your account this month based on your mileage records.
Hmm. You know what's interesting is that, and that's the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS. But up until in Europe, up until now at least, I don't know if it's mandatory, but there was always like a you could pay your there was a voluntary carbon offset tax. Right? Isn't that amazing? You can volunteer to pay your carbon offsets. And that's been going on a long time. Apparently, UPS has started doing that. You can pay extra if you want to pay these carbon offsets with UPS.
Well, they actually have a carbon credit card, and if you've reached your carbon max, it doesn't work anymore. I'm sorry. How many people are using that? Sorry, no thanks. I'm declining it. So we wanted to talk about this last night. We didn't get into it, but this is the Flare launch, key development
was great, yeah.
milestones.
Spend some time on this.
We have a little
We
bit of
got
time to
7 of 'em.
spend. Yeah, we have 7 of them right there. So weird it won't.
So what's interesting about this? They were talking yesterday. We brought up, Chip, that they mentioned July 4th as the launch of Flare, and
That's right.
that would be the release of the Spark token, I would assume at that point, correct?
It might be the first distribution. Yeah. So
Oh, that's right. It's going small distribution.
what they're talking about is YEF assets. You got providing non-smart contracts to chain tokens like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Algorand, Doge, others. Layer cake safe, genuinely decentralized bridges between smart contract platforms, both to and from Flare. For example, Flare and Solana, and between third-party chains, example, Ethereum and Solana, secured by Flare. Layer cake enables the use of FFs on Flare, as well as any chain. This is big stuff. This is like game-changing stuff. Relays.
really is. Man,
Safe relay any information, including off-chain data, between any set of chains secured by the state connector. It gives developers total decentralized DApp control and composability, all secured by Flare. Again, nothing comes close to what we're building with Flare. That's why our strapline has changed to connect everything. You're talking about blockchains, side chains. You're talking about between assets. The initial rollouts of these products will be coordinated by Flare for specific change and the key importance. To meet anticipated demand, we'll also be launching an incentive program for developers to expand the connectivity of the Flare ecosystem.
I like this at the end there. He said, we'll be launching the Flare Foundation.
Yeah,
Grants program over the coming months for developers looking to help scale. And it's interesting. So they want to attract people that are going to build in the space. That's great. They got a lot of flack when they kind of botched a little bit the Spark airdrop, and then they delayed it, and then they did the Songbird, but now look what's going on. What is this whole thing with the Songbird? What are they talking about?
Yeah, so
the
that's
governance?
that's what I want to get into. They're getting into all these milestones, but there's the one that I wanted to get into that talks about, did I miss it? Flare roadmap.
There was something about SGB above as you were scrolling.
Did I miss it?
There was an SGB Songbird graphic.
No, it's in here somewhere. Here it is.
That wasn't the
SGB
graphic.
is part of the graphic. No, it's not a graphic. It was, oh, here it is right here. Songbird bridge launch. This will allow all Songbird tokens to be bridged to Flare and vice versa. So does that mean that you can bridge your Songbird? So in other words, you don't lose your Songbird once the testnet goes away, the Canary network. It sounds to me like you'll be able to bridge it right over to Flare. So that's what it says. It allows Songbird tokens.
So does that mean you're going to convert it? You're going to bridge it there, and what do you do with it?
Well, it says you can allow Songbird tokens to be bridged to Flare and vice versa. So Flare could be bridged back to. So I don't know if it's going to become part of the ecosystem. I would like some more clarity on that. That one was of interest to me. I mean, all these other ones are great too.
Layer cake.
Yeah, the governance vote for the proposal will take place once 75% of the initial 15% distributions freely available to take part in the governance vote. In the case of exchanges, that means the token will have to be distributed and be withdrawn from the exchange. The proposal details will be published in ample advance. And then there was another, here it is right here. So, governance update on the token distribution. Team's been working on a governance proposal regarding the token distribution. The proposal intends to achieve three things: remove the risk of exchange failing to pass on future token distributions, substantially increase the incentive to engage with the network, provide positive tax implications such as that a majority of recipients can avoid generating a taxable event until they claim their token allocations and withdraw them from the system. This would give the recipient autonomy for when they wish to trigger a tax event. Now, that right there sounds like a very logical. You're leaving it up to the person whether or not they want to trigger the tax event. You're not saying, here you go. It's up to the individual and how they want to handle it. I think it's a better way to go.
This is, it's really interesting. I mean, I'm looking at all these different possibilities of what's going on in the ecosystem right now. And so Apex is bringing up bridge SGB to Flare wrapped to be used as collateral for DeFi lending.
Interesting.
So there's so many different, great ways to put this all together. Now we got IRS Media saying chip for president.
Yes.
El Presidente.
By the way, my local rep is gone. Not running. I was like, why don't I just run, dude? What the hell? I don't need to create another job for myself.
Run, Chip.
But it would be fun. Wouldn't it be great just to run? That one I did. I have to work.
That's right. Whatever happened to Coinbase, Chip? Did Coinbase actually take everybody's Spark? That if you were holding your XRP over there?
Yeah, that's
Coinbase. Are they sitting on a nest?
Well, see, this is what's interesting here. This is what I like what they talk about right here. They say remove the risk of an exchange failing to pass on future token distributions. So that right there is interesting to me because of exactly what Alchemist is bringing up, the whole idea of Coinbase. It's not just Coinbase. There's other. Was it the Flare token, or they just held back the SGB? Because I think they were going to participate in Flare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And here's what Jim D is saying. He meant Bitrue. Swipe my Flare till I give them KYC. What? So I know that, you have to go through KYC with all these different platforms, and Bitrue operated, I think in the beginning without the KYCs 100% intact. You didn't have to throw KYC in the beginning to put money or put assets on there, but to take assets off, you have to go through the KYC. And so I think they're getting a lot more strict. Bitrue is climbing the ranks. They're a lot more serious of a platform now. And it's amazing to see them on a global scale.
It's awesome, right?
But Jim D should look into that. If Bitrue's holding back, you need to get some resolution on that. And Jackie came in at the last minute. So late. So late, Jackie. Man, oh man. Huh. So, Chip, today's Thursday. You realize that?
It-
It is. Tomorrow's April Fool's.
What kind of weird stuff's going to go on tomorrow?
It's gonna be interesting. I wonder who's gonna put out what. Maybe Ripple is gonna drop XRP for the Lightning Network. Maybe some really cool things will happen tomorrow. Be interesting. But the one thing that we know for sure, Chip, is that decentralization equals freedom.
I'm right, it does. Decentralization
does.
is freedom. And remember, we stream 6 times per week, Sunday to Thursday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday at 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. We'll just do that every time, Jeff. Throw out
Dude,
that
that's so
little
much
banner.
easier. Holy cow.
I know,
So much easier. It's magic. Magic.
You can do magic. We can even do this too.
What else we got? Right guy's birthday's coming up. Oh, there you go. That's good too. We can scroll it.
That's not annoying or anything, man. It's perfectly
No,
fine.
not at all. I forgot about that stuff. We could do that.
Yeah, so there you
But
go.
anyhow,
Anyway,
got people on here. Big shout out to our supporters on the
on
chain,
Rumble.
whether on the website or right here on YouTube. 5 people watching on Rumble. We're getting a
Love you,
following over on
Rumblers.
Rumble.
We love you, Rumblers.
Rumblers.
Rumblers rule.
Man, we're planning on doing maybe a Rumble only stream, and once we get that together, we'll let people know. Say, hey, we're gonna do a Rumble only stream, and then
Yeah, because then we can say anything
the
we want.
gloves come off.
Anything we want.
And it'll be fun. We're up to 66 subscribers on Rumble. It's growing incrementally slow.
Which is 66
but-
more than we've lost on YouTube over the last.
But anyhow, if you haven't subscribed to us, go check out Rumble. It's kind of a cool platform. And you can subscribe over there, and then it's connected to Locals, which is a nice area to converse with one another. It's interesting. It's really cool. A lot of stuff growing on over there. Growing on. Like I said, that not just going on, but
What
it's
else is
growing
growing
on.
me?
Man, there's a whole bunch of stuff growing on. So with that, Chip, we'll be back here Saturday morning.
And you'll be back here. I'll be watching you from a.
Oh yeah, I
I'll
guess
do a
I'll be
place
back here.
on my lanai
I'll be back here all by myself at 8
poolside
a.m.
with my
Saturday
dog
morning.
in tow. My dog
Poolside.
Max in tow. Yep. That's it, guys. Have a
Be
great
screaming in
weekend.
the
We'll
field.
see you on the next one. Chip
See
and
you
Jeff.
on the next one.
Ouch.
Ow.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.